When he got within talking range, he says, "Are you going to buy something as beautiful as you are?"
Ew.
Fucking jerk off into a plan.
Corny.
Hello, fuckers. How you doing? Where you been? Wear a condom. Did you drink water today? Welcome to another episode of Guys We Fcked.
It's the anti-slut shaming podcast. I'm Corinne Fisher.
I'm Krystyna Hutchinson.
Welcome to the show.
If you want to email us, it's sorryaboutlastnightshow@gmail.com. Today's subject line, I was sexually harassed, and now I don't feel safe.
Amazing.
I love your podcast, and I look forward to listening each week. I've seen you both live in Toronto, and then saw Corinne with Rosebud in Toronto. See pic below. Okay, I'm a 29-year-old female, and I'm 6'2". Damn, girl, you a model? I was already 5'10" when I was in grade 7. Damn, that's wild. My mom was like 6'1" when she was 11, and I'm like, that couldn't have been fun. So I am used to unsolicited comments and questions from strangers about my height, and often comments about my looks too. While annoying, they usually don't bother me. However, last Sunday, I had an encounter that really shook me that I can't get out of my head or body. Trauma does live in the body. The day started off great. My boyfriend and I started living together in August, and we had just bought a new couch. Oh, I love the feeling of a new couch. So honestly, it's the best. When you get new furniture, you're like, you're a fresh start. Anyway, I went to go pick up the couch in a neighboring town with a friend. My boyfriend works out of town 3 weeks away and 1 week home.
It's okay, whatever the reason your boyfriend wasn't. We didn't even know you had a boyfriend. I guess we did.
Well, my boyfriend and I started living together.
I know, it's just funny that you're like, oh, the 87 reasons why he didn't help. It's fine. We'll relax. We're good.
Let me make this bigger. Okay. And after we got the couch moved in, it looked so good that I decided to go look at some side tables just for fun. I went to a furniture store. Oh, girl, you speak my language. Downtown, and walked around to get some ideas for furniture items. It's so fun. I wasn't quite ready to head home yet, so I went to the only other furniture store that was open. I live in a small town, and lots of things are closed on Sundays. It was 30 minutes till closing, and when I entered, I was the only person in the store besides the 2 male sales associates. I was in the store for only a few minutes before another man entered. I saw him enter and immediately had the feeling that this man was going to make some sort of comment to me.
Yep.
That's your gut, baby.
We all know it.
I continued to browse, and he started to walk towards me.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks.
When people start approaching me, I just literally, before they
say nope.
While they go, I go, no.
Yeah, I've said nope before.
Yeah, I just go, nope.
Because you feel it right away.
Yeah.
Your spidey senses go,
I go, not tonight.
Yeah, I don't want to fucking talk to you. When he got within talking range, he says, "Are you going to buy something as beautiful as you are?"
Ew.
Go fucking jerk off into a plan.
Corny.
I didn't like the comment as it's awkward to respond to. I said I was just browsing and started to walk away from him. You know, lovely that the 2 male sales associates really wanted to help you there and chime in and keep this customer from fucking harassing you. Anyway, this is where things got uncomfortable for me. He started to follow me around the store, only about 2 feet away. I would have fucking clocked him. I mean, that's what I say now, not in this situation. It was way too close and set me on edge. He asked me how tall I was. Ew, dude. And when I responded, he said something about him only being 5'6", and then he was making comments about the white I have in my hair. I mostly responded with, yeah, mm-hmm. As I continued to walk away from him, the aisle led to the mattress section. Oh Jesus, God. Fuck. And I felt dread on the side.
This is going in a tough direction.
Yeah, I just remembered the fucking subject line of it.
Yeah.
But hey, this is the fucking reality that women face on a daily basis, and why men are the greatest threats health-wise to a woman's life continuing. As I continued to walk away from the aisle led to the mattress section, and I felt dread on the inside about what comment he would make next. He went with, "This is a bed for you." As it was very high off the ground, thankfully, a little old lady came into the store from the mall and was walking towards us and said, "How is anyone supposed to get in these beds?" I told her maybe a step stool, and then the man started talking to her. I used this as my opportunity to get away from him and got to the end of the beds to make a turn so I could just make my back towards the exit and leave. He must have jogged to catch up, because the next thing I knew, he was behind me again.
So alarming.
That's so creepy. And said, "So when is someone going to marry you and put a baby in you?"
Ew.
Motherfucker, I'll cut your dick off in the store.
All right.
I cut your dick off in the store.
He feels out of control because he's 5'6". Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to cry. I felt so sick and ignored him. He asked again. I said, I had a boyfriend. So then he asks, when is he going to put a baby in you?
That sentence, the way that so often people ask it in that specific language, put a baby in you. I think that should be illegal.
Yeah,
you know how they want to make hate speech illegal? I think that towards women is hate speech. Put a baby in you is such a fucking foul way to describe what can be a beautiful event.
Yes. And also, a baby doesn't come out of your dick, gentlemen. I mean, most of gentlemen listening to this, I mean, I'm sure 99% of you already know that. But that's a fucked up thing to say. I didn't look back. As I said, we're fine the way we are, and made a sharp turn towards the sales associates who were at the till. I wanted to ask them to walk me to my car, but I was too nervous that the man would hear and say something else. I took another turn and got a bunch of furniture between us as I neared the exit. I made one last look towards him to make sure he couldn't follow us as I heard follow
quickly
as he couldn't follow quickly if he chose to. And I left the store and then speed walked to my car, got in, locked the doors immediately, and then drove home. I felt so alone. I sat on my couch and just stared at the wall, trying to process what happened. All I wanted was a hug from my boyfriend and to feel safe and to tell him what happened, but he was still working. I had plans to take his grandma out for dinner in an hour or so I just stuffed it down and then got ready to pick her up. I didn't tell her what happened. I felt off the whole night as it kept running through my mind. When I got home from dinner, I was able to call my boyfriend and tell him what happened. I broke down on the phone and cried when I told him. I hated how this man made me feel so small and how I couldn't just tell him to leave me alone and that he was being inappropriate. I felt like if my boyfriend was with me, this man wouldn't have said any of this, you're correct, and would have left me alone. I don't want to feel like I'm not safe when I'm on my own. How do I let this go and move on? The words "put a baby in you" feels so vulgar to me and makes me sick, and I can't get those words out of my head. Is it better to be direct and tell them to leave you alone or just try to ignore? Thank you. P.S. Attached are pictures of when I met Corinne and Rosebud, me and my boyfriend and me. We were at a trampoline park for our anniversary. Oh, that
reminds me. That's what I wanted to do for my birthday. Thank you for reminding me. Cute.
Dude, that's so nasty. That's so fucking nasty. And I got the ick when you, as we were reading the email, I'm like, that's a tough one.
Well, is it? So what's confusing to me about this email, though, is
you were sexually harassed.
Yes, it's disgusting. Yes, but this scenario has happened to me 100 times.
Oh, guy following you.
Yeah, stuff like this happens all the time, and not that
I've gotten followed.
That doesn't make it okay in any way. But it's I guess it's of course it's alarming that that's such a regular experience for women. But yeah, I'm like almost like this wouldn't really even interrupt my day because this has happened so much, and that's also not okay all the time.
That's wild.
Yeah,
I really get followed a lot.
I guess that's what's interesting to me about this, because to me this is such a common female experience. It's almost like, oh, this is a blip on the radar of being a woman.
Yeah,
and that's also not okay. That's how it registers with me.
I think
I'm confused.
If I had this experience, it would really make me feel sick. The other thing that would really get to me, as the reader had pointed out, was like, she didn't fucking say what she wanted to say. You just froze, and that's really terrifying, because that does make you feel less safe in the world. Because, okay, so next time if I'm walking down a fucking street and I'm in fight or flight and I can't tell this man to knock it the fuck off, and he keeps following me because I'm going, because that's the only thing that I can physically come out of my mouth. It makes you, and then that on top of, if your boyfriend was there, he wouldn't say that shit. He would never have pulled that shit. So yeah, those two factors, I feel like it's just probably, I imagine she would feel it's very jarring to feel that unsafe on your own.
But also, the thing is, like, sometimes I feel like it's good when you bite your lip, because sometimes when you speak out, that's what gets you physically hurt.
Yeah, because I never know what the right move is with this type of situation, because if the guy's violent, he's going to get egged on by you, having an attitude, AKA saying, absolutely the fuck not, get away from me. Michael, you're raising your hand.
So from the guy's perspective, as somebody who, I hope I've never put a woman in that sort of situation.
You have not.
But
there's not. You're not that guy. You're not that kind of guy.
I will say, safety aside for this woman in this situation, because I'm just saying I can't speak to.
Women never think like that. Safety aside. That's funny.
I'm saying like I'm trying to understand the fact that like you might freeze up in a situation like that,
Sure.
and the thing that doesn't come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
But I think that it's been dealing with the guy. It's better to say something. Because I think that guy has probably been in a situation before where he's said this to tons of women, and no woman has ever really said anything.
If he's an actual rapist, he's not gonna he's going to enjoy the fact that she doesn't like it.
It's also not. I also am always torn because it's not. Every woman doesn't have to be like a martyr and a savior for all other women. Like,
No, I'm not.
It's like some of us choose to be, but that doesn't. Everyone shouldn't be required to be.
I'm just saying.
You're saying maybe he hasn't heard that before.
I don't. Yeah, and I don't think that guy would know what to do if he was sort of pressed in that situation. If a woman actually said like, "That's disgusting.
What are you doing?"
Yeah, why would you say something like that? He's at work. That's the other thing you got to remember, right?
Well, he just walked into
this is a random
He's a
guy.
customer.
Into a furniture
I thought
store.
he was another guy.
No, he wasn't the employee.
If it was an
customer.
employee, you burn the fucking establishment.
Oh yeah,
down.
you narc on him on social media, and take care of business.
I still personally think it's worth it, and I understand again thinking. As a woman, you have to think about your safety at all times, but I do think that guy probably said it because he doesn't think anybody's gonna check him.
Well, yeah, and she's mad at herself that she didn't.
Right. Yeah.
It was,
and it sucks when you don't behave in the way that you're like, why didn't I do that? Like, why did you got overpowered by your fight response, your freeze response.
Yeah,
really.
your fear silences you, and that's totally okay and understandable. But yeah, I mean, I do understand what you mean about like feeling like you want to feel safe without having to like kind of run to your boyfriend. Like I do think that is extremely important. It's not lovely that you feel like you're supported by him and you can rely on him. But yeah, you don't want to feel like you always have to have him with you. That's also not good.
Have you ever had any of the guys that have followed you, Corinne? Like some dudes that are like this, none of them are great, but some of them have such nasty energy that you feel like they raped your aura.
Yes, absolutely.
Like you feel like they're like just some evil piece of shit, and they fucking they flung something at you. They like jizzed on you, like in their imagination. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, in my younger years, I felt more like that. I feel a lot more in control now. I mean, my most successful resolution to behavior like this is to kind of one up them. So this is so if he was doing that, I'd be like, oh yeah, you want to go back to the corner? How's your fucking dick? Is your dick hard? Are you ready to go? That's a very ballsy / dangerous approach though. Yeah. So that took years for me to work on.
Was that received?
But like living uptown, it would get so intense that I had so I tried an assortment of resolutions to that. What was your question?
How was that received when you did employ that tactic?
You freak people out. They think you're crazy. So I think that's the best tactic when being a woman is for someone to actually get scared of you. I mean, I call it the Hey Arnold approach. Like, don't hit me. I'm crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I that's the best. But again, it's like, It took many years to work of living in New York City alone to work up to that level, and nor would I recommend it because I mean, of course you're playing a little bit of Russian roulette, like you could be dealing with someone even more fucking crazy than you.
You just jarred my memory. There was one time when I first moved to New York, I was still living in the dorm rooms. I was by myself. Some guy was and I got so fucking. When guys do this, it doesn't happen to me often. I get mad. I don't get I don't freeze. I get angry, which is also probably not good. But I remember I got so fucking mad. This guy was saying such foul things about my ass or something and every step I took, he was like, oh yeah. I'm like, I'll poke your fucking eyeballs out and I'll make you eat them. But I got so mad that I didn't even think about this, but I pretended to be very mentally ill. And he... Yeah. Like my arms atrophied and like just like fucking from a horror movie. Yeah. And he got freaked out.
Yeah. Being loud is also helpful, right? So like a lot of times these guys, when they're saying things like that, they'll be talking low and whispery, which is also makes your pussy go on alert even more. Yes. So, but what I've found is like you talking in just a loud voice. So someone's just like, yeah, come over here. You're like, nobody likes you. Get away from me. Because then you get the attention of people around you, right?
You're in a big city. That's very wise. Yeah.
It's, so that's kind of like something else you can do. But again, like, yeah, especially when you have to walk back to your car. And also like you should never feel weird about asking a man to help you. They're
honestly happy to do it.
And also they've done so little for us. If we're talking about what we are owed, a lot. So, and I mean, I think this is important, so I do want to mention it, but like it's not mentioned in the email. But also, I think there's like an added layer because you're like a woman of color too. So I feel like it's like there's two like added layers here of like people
disrespect.
Well, and it's also I would imagine, I don't know, feeling unsafe or like targeted in an area. I mean, I don't know if what this guy was, but I do feel like there is. Sometimes when you see men talking to, if they are white, talking to women of color, like I do find this almost like
racism and sexism.
Yeah. And they also will speak to women of color almost in this like way that they are some kind of like exotic creature in a museum. I see it a lot.
I've heard white guys
I find it really, really appalling.
I've heard white guys use the word exotic towards a woman of color so many times. I'm like, you got the memo not to say that, right? You had to have gotten the memo.
It is like very, it's just, it adds a layer of like demeaning.
Yeah.
Is demeaningness a word? I don't know if it is, but yeah. And I really, really hate that because that's something that I have observed. Because obviously I've experienced being talked to as a woman, but then there's this added layer that I have observed white men talk to women in a way, women of color in a way, and I'm like, I really, there's just
I don't like that.
Really don't like that.
Nope,
I don't like that at all.
Thumbs down.
Yeah.
So yeah. Guys, come see us live. I got a couple cities coming up: Springville, Utah, Bridgeport, Connecticut, Chicago, Nashville, Springfield. That's going to be the end of October through mid-November. KrystynaHutchinson.com for tickets, or at Krystyna Hutch is my social media. The link tree in all of my bios contains all the ticket links. And then if you fancy yourself sharing things in a group setting with people, and one of them is me, and I can ask you questions and make jokes when appropriate. Although I'm not a licensed therapist, I do host group therapy one time a week for my Patreon. So if you're a member, you can participate. And if you can't make the actual group therapy appointments, the audio will be uploaded to Patreon the following day. And it's really interesting. It's like a custom podcast starring you. And then I get to ask. I love learning about human behavior, and I like hearing people's stories. I think it's really valuable to hear other people's stories because it's so exhausting thinking about yourself all the fucking time. No one deserves that, okay? So hearing other people's stories is really helpful. It just gives you a different perspective, and it kind of jars you out of your hamster wheel that we all seem to be in. So patreon.com/Krystyna Hutchinson.
All right. And we are playing the Midnight Theater again here in New York City. Make sure to get those tickets. Our next show is Thursday, October 19th. And it is at 9:30 p.m. Ticket links are up in all the Linktree links in all our bios and in the Guys We Fcked bio.
Oh, and you can live stream it.
You can also live stream it. Yes.
Yeah.
The live stream link is also available. I put that one in my Linktree as well. Or if you just go to the Midnight Theater website, it is on there as well. If you want to listen to my other podcast, it's Without a Country. We cover the news with a comedic sensibility. A lot of people want to talk long form about rape, sexual assault allegations, a lot of Scientology, domestic violence, and then of course, a lot of things going into the 2024 election. Something that I find that we talked about recently that I think is very interesting and very important to note going into the 2024 election. So as of now, Trump is probably going to be the nom for the Republicans.
Damn.
And what I actually,
that's wild.
Yeah. And obviously when Roe v. Wade was overturned, that was, in part because of Donald Trump. And what is
primarily.
And what is so interesting is that we found out with that how many Republicans are actually pro-choice. And this really could be a turning point for the Republican Party, and it could be the way that they lose the election. So Donald Trump, I gotta say, he's a pretty smart guy. Basically, the rumblings are he's going to come out as way more pro-choice during the 2024 election, which I think is an extremely intelligent tactic, especially with Biden's health and him tripping over things and seeming not, totally with it when he's giving speeches. So I think like keep that in mind. Like number one, I do think Donald Trump is tricking us with that that conversation, because at one point he named himself like the most pro-life president of all time or something. You know, the way he speaks.
Yes. Like a toddler.
And so that is something that I think we really, really have to keep our eyes on as pro-choice people going into the 2024 election, because he is going to come in, and I think that really could turn the tables for the Republican Party. So that's something that we've been talking about a lot on Without a Country. And one of the most interesting things I saw, there was a little bit of a conversation about maybe the Democratic Party going with Gavin Newsom, but like he'll never win. He's way too.
He sucks.
What? I don't think he sucks, but
I love him.
But I think he's way too. He's way too lefty to win, especially going from Biden. I just don't. I think we have someone more centrist has to win. Unfortunately,
why does he want to run again? There's no way he wants. Do you think he wants to run again?
He spent his whole life running for president. I mean, this was his third attempt. So yeah, but I mean, it is so old, dude. I agree, but it is almost. Historically, everyone almost runs again. Like it's so rare for a president not to run again for a second term.
That's happened like once.
I
think it was just Gerald Ford.
It's extremely rare.
He's not
He's fine. The economy is doing well. I mean, he's not great. He's not bad.
Though that's doing it.
I think he's exactly what we thought he would be, which is an extremely kind of like, especially coming off of the tumultuous nature of the Donald Trump presidency. I think it's kind of exactly what the country needed to kind of just even out a little bit. You know, if you read the news every week, you're like, kind of, it feels like a lot less is happening. Obviously, things like, out of his control, like the Maui fires, or was it in his control? I don't know. I don't want to get too conspiracy theorist.
Alex Jones here for Guys We Fcked.
Yeah, I mean, it's also like, even if things are, politically done, it doesn't mean like that the sitting president is behind them all. It could, there's other people in politics and also a lot of, there's a lot of rumors that it was about like, developers and stuff like that. Yeah, so, I mean, who the fuck knows what's going on over there? Unfortunately, I do feel like a lot of times in the U.S. we kind of don't know what's going on in Alaska and Hawaii.
Nope.
It's like another country.
A lot of alien stuff.
Those are other countries to us.
Oh no,
to be honest.
I have a globe in my apartment. I look at it often, and every time I'm like, why did we take Alaska? That's Canada. Alaska is Canada. Stop.
Well, that was strategigic. And
the war
shit.
Yeah, you guys and your wars. But
keep an eye on Russia.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I know it's very close to Russia.
Yeah, well, Palin can see it from her backyard, so she's keeping an eye on it for us.
Technically, it is closer to Russia than I thought. I'm like, maybe we shouldn't have given her so much shit and called her a dumbass for that. There's also a lot of other stuff to call her a dumbass for.
We all understand how she was speaking. You're like, oh, that's a hop, skip, and a jump away. It's like she didn't literally mean it, but we just love anything that we can jump all over people for.
Especially a woman. But, maybe if Biden croaks during his next presidency, and then you get a black lady as the president, I mean, that's fucking wild.
I don't think Kamala would. I don't think they would run Kamala unless she died with it.
Krystyna's saying that if he dies in office,
she dies in office and was just made. Yeah,
he just seems so on the way out of being alive. This guy, like, I watched him give speeches the other day. I'm like, at the UN, I was like, he's not saying words right. He's slurring.
He always kind of talked like that, but yeah.
He's talking. He looks out like he's looking for his childhood dog or something. I'm like, that's a little dementia-esque.
I still feel it's better than Donald Trump, but yeah.
For sure. I can't believe.
That's why it's hard for me, because until I honestly know who the Democratic nominee is going to be, I kind of won't speak ill of Joe Biden.
There's no chance that it's going to not be him. There's no way.
He's not a bad person at all.
That's not I don't think that's 100% accurate, but I think it's like 90% accurate.
He's definitely the one that could beat Trump, though. Has the biggest chance of beating Trump, I would say,
Biden,
right? Yeah.
No, I don't think. No, I think they need.
He did it once.
I think they need to pick somebody else, and also the media needs to stop covering just montaging falls. That would be helpful.
That's a bummer. Yeah, that would help the morale a little bit.
Yeah. I know we love them. I know we're click happy, but
I don't love them. It makes me sad.
And it's like, okay, yeah, you can share that for a short laugh, but it's like, is that worth you? What else is going to be overturned this time? Yeah. What other Supreme Court decisions?
Right.
I honestly think it's we saw one Trump presidency. We don't necessarily want to see that again.
What's happening to women in the United States because Roe v. Wade being overturned is absolutely fucking disgusting and repulsive and murderous, and people are being forced to have babies from from a rapist. Like,
and all the things that have happened to the
knew that was gonna
LGBTQ
happen.
community recently. You're like, what year are we living in?
It's fucked up.
Insane.
It's fucked up. Yay. How are you?
Oh yeah, I was like, I didn't know. We're pre-recording this because we are going to be dark next week because we're going to be recovering from Skankfest. But what am I thinking about today? Well, we are in suicide. I don't know. Is this? Well, this will be airing after technically suicide prevention.
Hopefully,
month.
you guys didn't kill yourself.
Yeah. So hopefully,
if you're listening to this, you did
just know if you did it during. Well, honestly, if you did it during September, wow, that was like a real fuck you to
all
the powers that be.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, suicide is an issue very close to my heart.
So what is a suicide prevention tip?
Well, I would say the biggest, as somebody who has been wanted to kill herself so badly, like for a year straight almost, I will say when I got into the whole afterlife thing, multiple authors that I've grown to really like respect, admire, and trust, and like they have a really beautiful reputation. The mediums that I've read all say the souls that when they give readings to a person who's alive, in between a person who's alive and a person who's passed away. Laura Lynn Jackson is one of the reputable ones. When it's suicide, the soul who has killed him or herself is always like, I wish I didn't do that.
No take-backs.
Fuck, and you can't. Well, because basically you have to go back to Earth and relive a similarly challenging life. You don't get to go to the next level, basically.
It's like a video game.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, but when I say go to the next level, I mean like advance to like another type of existence, like learn a new lesson. You have to relearn the lesson that you fucking did this life for.
What a nightmare.
And what a waste of fucking time.
What a nightmare.
So when I read that, I was like, okay, that is all the evidence I will ever need to I wouldn't even think about killing myself. Like feeling suicidal and talking about it is one thing, but like actually taking action, I used to want to do that, but now I'm like, nah, because I learned that. So that kept me from sitting on the knife.
It's interesting. I just looked up tips for, to prevent suicide. I Googled that and I saw what it would tell me. And
Listen to happy music.
It's just a lot of them is like, if you think someone's at risk, ask them if they are okay. Listen like a true friend. Tell them your worried and concern. Let them know that they have been heard. Tell them they are not alone. Talk to an adult or a friend that you trust.
It also depends on it depends on how far along the person is.
With their Corinne, suicidal ideations.
You and I lived this a night before Christmas Eve a couple years ago, didn't we? I mean,
when you wanted to die.
Yeah, I mean, I was at a place where I
was like, Mike, I have a hot cocoa on. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you have a fucking mug on the table? Come on, can we reschedule this suicide?
It was bad, but I mean,
humor does help.
I was at a place where I was in dire straits. For me, it was just about kind of reaching out and like getting to a place where I could be watched.
Did you feel like a burden when you were suicidal? Because I felt like a burden and I didn't reach out to anybody.
Burden to other people?
Yeah.
The only time
if I reach out, they're going to be fucking annoyed with me and be annoyed that I'm like this. And I don't want that. That'll really make me want to kill myself.
I felt bad after I talked to Corinne that night because Corinne's dad had just gotten sick and I didn't know.
Oh, you didn't know. You didn't know.
Corinne told me on that phone call that her dad had just gotten sick and I was
like,
great. So now I'm like double ruining Corinne's night.
My dad's dying and my friend might kill himself. Double
Jesus
trouble.
Christ, pick one.
And then
I also think I don't think I told it to you to guilt you. I think
you didn't. No.
I think I was just letting you know.
Yeah, you were letting me know. But then I think once I had a level of clarity, I was like, ugh, I can't believe I just did that.
Yeah. Well, you were upset.
I think it also something like that. It does really help put things into perspective. So you're like, do I really want to die? Do I really want to die like Corinne's dad?
Well, yeah. And it was just kind of,
but it also
no.
That there was also, so that was the night before Christmas Eve. So I was going home the next day and obviously
hard time of year too. I always tell people don't. I mean I don't know if I told this to you, but I always say between Christmas and New Year's or in that time, don't kill yourself. It's hack. It's hack. Come on.
Everyone does it.
Oh, what is this? We've seen this bit a million times.
But I went home that next day and I remember hugging my parents and I was just like, all right, so now I also ruined Christmas and they didn't.
Wait, they didn't know, did they?
Yes, they
were
do.
suicidal?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
Erica,
wow, you fucking
Spera,
told your parents?
They were contacted because I was going to kill myself.
Yeah, Erica did.
Yeah.
Well, that's also why Like I'm sure, like
Yeah,
because
I had a friend reach out to Corinne. I'm like, can you not fucking bug her with this? It's so annoying, but
it was.
I guess it's good.
Well, and also sometimes I'm like, it was also someone who doesn't know you as well as I know you,
Right.
So I was like, let me handle this.
Yeah.
You know me. I don't really like. I like to keep the layers separate. So it's like
Totally.
when people are really on the inside, I hate when other people try to come to that layer. I go, you're not on this layer. I've been on this layer for fucking 10 years.
Yeah,
Relax,
yeah,
everybody.
yeah.
But yeah, no, well, it's like I also had known, like, you know, I took the roasting approach because I do feel like I feel like you had already been through the I'm here for you.
Yeah.
So I always try to take a different approach.
Yeah,
but I'll
and-
roast the shit out of anyone. Oh, you're gonna kill yourself? Let me roast you first.
Yeah, and I mean, it helped that a friend was talking to me about it. But eventually, once it got, because I had another episode that followed that episode a couple months later.
Oh, a couple months
And
later.
for me, that was the point where I felt like it was time to sort of like I kind of like almost went to rehab in a way where it was like I went to my parents' house to where they could keep an eye on me.
Yeah.
To where like they weren't going. It was still during the pandemic.
Wow.
They were home, and then I got medication. So if that is the route that is right for you, if you have those sort of problems, it's helped me exponentially. And I would recommend it to anybody that is feeling like they need to try something else. I think that's super helpful, but
yeah, I just think you really need to like exhaust all options, and just like with anything, like to get through it. Like, and it also is like, you know, basically any feeling, no matter how dark or deep or how long you're in it, like it really will pass, but it's not
like a wave.
necessarily going
Feelings
to
are
pass
waves.
if you just lay in your bed.
that's right.
You
That's the
know,
thing.
it's like, okay, well, technically, like maybe at one point it will pass, but like at a certain point, you honestly just have to be like, cut the bullshit,
Right.
get out of bed. A big tactic I use for depression is literally making an appointment where you have to leave your house.
Yeah.
It's anything that it could fucking be, leave your house. Or like, again, like, I would start, like, I don't even really like coffee, but when I was so depressed, like walking to Dunkin' Donuts, that was step one in having a ritual that brought me a little bit of joy, that got me out of the house. Because once you get out of your space and you just see the world kind of functioning, it is humbling in that you realize, well, the world's going to go on with or without me.
Yeah.
So maybe stop making this whole show about you.
Yeah.
You know?
I when I lived on 34th Street, I was in my living room one it was a beautiful afternoon, and I heard outside, and it was a guy who jumped off a building
I was like, what was
street.
that? Yeah.
Right across the street, and it sounded like a guy fell off a building. It sounded like and he screamed.
Oh.
And I ran outside, and I was like, what the fuck? And someone I don't know where they came from. It wasn't a medic. They put a sheet over the person or a coat or something, and he was fucking twitching, and then he died. I watched him die. I watched him die. So he went like the
Horrifying.
twitches, and then done. And they fucking did not remove his body for a while. So I was outside an hour staring at it, and it was very interesting to watch people walk by. They didn't know what was happening. There's all these ambulance and fire trucks came and all this stuff. And everyone's like, what happened? What happened? I'm like, I didn't want to tell people. And then the guy next to me was like, this guy just jumped off the roof. I'm like,
That's so
all
New-
right,
that's so
all right,
New York.
asshole.
That's so New York.
Maybe have some fucking respect for the recently deceased. But it was really weird to watch life happen, right? I'm like, oh, when you do that, life still happens. Traffic still happens. The light still turns green and red and
We're
orange.
all getting to work whether or not you jump on the tracks.
Yeah.
New York forever.
Hey.
Well, I can also tell you this is a riskier one, but it worked for me. My first suicidal episode. I've had many.
suicidal episode, a one-man show.
I was 23, and
Young suicide.
right when I
Yeah.
got right when I got back
Romantic.
from Disney World.
Oh God.
That'll
when
make
I
you
worked
wanna
down
kill
there.
yourself.
And I had said something to my mom where I was like, I really am feeling like I think I just want to like fucking kill myself. This is too much or whatever. And my mom goes, all right, you want to kill yourself? Fine. And she was like, do me a favor, go into Nicole's room and tell her that you're going to kill yourself.
Nice tactic,
And
Mom.
she was like, you want to do it? Explain to your sister why you're gonna die.
it's so hard for you. Yeah.
And then like,
Damn.
I don't recommend necessarily doing that for everybody.
But it worked for you.
It
Your
worked
mom
for me
knows
that
you.
time. Yep.
You have to know your psyche.
Yeah. It's nice to have
That really put things in perspective, that I was just like, okay, now I actually have to think about like what my parents and my family, like what if I wasn't here? What would that, what do they do? You know?
Yeah, I just feel like the bottom line is like, no matter how bad you're feeling, or like, I mean, and this is like,
it's just going to pass.
and this
It's
is
not
like
permanent.
outside of people who are like terminally ill and like looking into something like assisted suicide, which I am pro-assisted
Me
suicide,
too.
but that's like a completely different situation, right? But like if it's something like, I really do feel like if you dig deep within your soul, you can find a way in which to contribute to the world.
Yes. That you feel good about.
And I think that's the bottom line. You know, it's not like we have, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, last year, I mean, I reached levels of darkness that I just didn't even know were really there. And it definitely felt like, I mean, just like, it's hard because like, it's never like I never had a suicide plan or anything like that. I just really have put too much work into this whole thing to tap out now. That's my feelings on it. But I do feel like I certainly lost the will to live, right, for a period of time. And you just go, this just feels so dark. But you kind of do have to be like harder on yourself, but probably not in the way in which you've been harder on yourself. Because I think like a lot of
bully yourself.
like
Yeah.
suicidal thought is like hard on yourself, but in a way that is kind of
You're a piece of shit. You're worthless. You're
it's-
nothing. No one cares.
And it is almost like narcissistic. It's like the bottom line is just people aren't thinking that much about you. So why are you spending so much time thinking about yourself? That's probably part of the reason why, when we feel dark, that we don't feel like we want to live, because we are thinking so much about ourselves.
exhausting.
So that's why when I feel like that way, or when anyone else feels like that way, I always think like step one is looking outside of yourself, and not in a comparison way, not in like sitting there and thinking about all the people
distracting
who are
way.
starving or have it
helping
much
is
worse than
huge.
you. I think it's just about like listening, like there is so much world outside of me and my existence. And like I was put here, I'm taking up space, I'm using resources. If I push myself, I really can contribute today and
Right.
always, And I think having that conversation with yourself, which is a different type of harshness, okay? So there's a harshness where you sit and you call yourself a piece of shit. That's not helpful to you, nor is it helpful to anyone else. I would actually argue that's the kind where it's, if you feel like a burden, like, yeah, you kind of are being a burden, and that's okay. Just admit it. Like we have this, there's this kind of conversation these days where it's like, no, you're loved and you're never being a burden. We're all fucking being a burden sometimes, but it's cyclical. So we'll take turns being a fucking burden, and that's what living, is about. That's kind of what they talk about in When Things Fall Apart with like Tonglen, suffering is a shared human experience, right? So if you think you see someone on the street who is suffering, that you are not also suffering, that you're having a great life. No, you're not. We're all communally suffering until no one is suffering. And I think that is such like an interesting concept to take in. And I really once I read that, I was like, yes, absolutely. That makes so much sense, right? Suffering is just shared human experience, even if you at the time are not personally suffering. And then just to say what's a way, even a small way, in which I can contribute today? I mean, little things like just giving, a homeless person $5, like shit like that. I feel like, and not announcing it to everyone, but doing stuff like that, you really to just be able to go to bed at night and be like, okay, I did something other than wallow in my own fucking grief today.
Yeah.
It
Well, I think
really turns things around.
Something that's super simple that I started doing is picking up litter.
Yeah.
Just going to a park, getting litter and putting it in a fucking trash
beach
can.
or
Don't say anything. And I think it's really important to build confidence with yourself and just starting to build up your self-esteem again is to volunteer. I volunteered for a community garden when I was fucking suicidal. And I was like, this is nice.
And there is humor in it too.
Fucking garden.
And this is the fucked up mean sense of humor that I have. Cause sometimes when you are volunteering,
You're just crying as you volunteer.
Well, no, you run into people and you're like, oh, okay, I really actually don't have it that bad. I'm being a brat. People coming in they don't even have a second shoe, and you're like,
Here's your soup,
all right,
man, with no arms.
Maybe I need to back it up a little bit, right?
Yeah. Oh, perspective is huge.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Because
again,
it's part of the thing is you feel like you're the only one going through this, and you're you need to be reminded of all the other kinds of suffering that everybody else is going through.
yeah, it's like read any book or watch any movie ever. It's like, okay, you're not special, bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not special, bitch is my healing motto. I find it very cathartic.
Speaking of cathartic,
Speaking of another place where few are healing.
very few are in Vegas.
Few are
Very
healing
few
or
people
healed.
in Vegas are healed, and they like it, and they have no intentions of changing, and we love them for it. Ladies and gentlemen, live from Skankfest.